So, hey everybody. In this video, we're going to be doing 8 stitch braids to the back, straight back. This style can be a little difficult because of the parting techniques, but we are going to get through it together. So we are going to be starting with a part down the middle. So when I'm doing my part down the middle, I normally just go to the front of my client and I use the tail end of my comb, or I use a comb with a tail end or with a very pointy tip. I can use both sides. So depending on what mood I'm in, it's going to determine what end I'm going to be using. When you are doing straight backs, even when you're doing 8, 6, 10, 5, 7, whatever, you want to make sure all your braids are going to go straight to the back. So after you have done your part down the middle, now we want to break it up into 4 sections. So I am going to go to the center of her head and I'm going to take a part straight down from the center of her head to right behind, a little bit behind her ear. And you want to make sure you do this on both sides. So even on the other side, you're going to do the same exact thing. So now you are going to take your section in the front, and then we are going to part these off into 4 equal sections. And when you're parting them off, you want to part them towards the back because your braids are going to be going directly straight back. You want to make sure they are all the same size. Each section should be the same size. Make sure you take your clips so that you can move after you are done parting your section off. You can move on to the next section to make sure those parts are straight as well. So after your foundation is set, you're going to take the tail end of your comb and you're going to part off a small section in the front, and this is where you're going to start your braid off at. Now after all of this is done, you should be ready to start braiding. You do not want to leave the edge wax on the hair for too long. If you leave that edge wax on too long, or if you try to go back and put more edge wax, the hair will get very greasy and it will be very, very hard to braid. So you want to already have your hair prepped and be ready to start your braid down after you done already applied your edge wax. So now we are going to start our stitching process. So right now I'm just going to break this up into 3 pieces. Take my beginning and break it up into 3 pieces, and then I'm going to start braiding. You are going to take control of the hair. You're going to take your finger that you feel comfortable with using for stitching. Some people use different fingers. Some people use the pointing finger. I use my pinky. After I have placed it in between my braiding fingers, my pointing finger and my thumb, I'm going to repeat the same step on the other side. So I am adding small amounts right now, as you can see, very small amounts, because her hair is very thick, and that is to make it to where it's not too bulky. We don't want this braid to be too bulky because her hair is already on a thicker side, it's long. So I'm just adding small amounts of pieces. So right now, if I was braiding somebody's hair whose hair was on the thinner side, I would be adding more hair. I would have started adding hair the moment I would have started stitching. As you can see, we did not add too much hair in the back of this braid because, again, I said her hair is very thick. So that's just to show you like the middle part of the head. So as you can see, this braid is almost done. We are almost done with this braid. So we're going to make sure that this braid is not too tight in the back of her neck. Normally, I would just ask my clients, how does it feel? I will pull it up just a little bit to make sure it's not too tight back there, and I will ask them how does it feel before I continue to my next braid. Also, you see that I'm adding a little bit thicker pieces to my braid so that I can make her braid the same size as the back of the braid. So my hands are in a different position. This is how I extend my braid at times. I braid 2 different ways, underhanded and overhanded. So I go back and forth between both. So also this is the same thing I would be doing depending on how long she wants her hair. If she wants her, this is how I extend my braid. If she wants really long braids, I would do this and I would add small pieces like that until I get the length that I want. Now note, if you're working with long hair, you will get to that length pretty fast. If you're working with shorter braiding hair, it will take a while to extend this braid, but you can do it with shorter hair as well. So now we have switched to the underhand method. The underhand method is my favorite way of braiding. The reason being, it allows me to braid much tighter. It allows me to unbraid the hair much better. It allows me to tuck the client hair better. So that's the way I prefer to braid when I am extending my braid. While you're braiding, when you are tucking the hair under the braid, you want to make sure that the client's natural hair is being tucked under the braiding hair. And that's how you tuck the hair. You want to push that hair in the middle of the braiding hair and kind of wrap the braiding hair around the client's natural hair, and then continue your braid. And that's how you keep the client's hair tucked and protected under the protective style. Then you want to add some shine gem through as you're braiding to kind of stretch the client's hair and help it blend better as you're braiding the client's hair down. And that shine gem will help clean that braid up to make sure the client's hair is not sticking out of the braid, going in between the hair, the braiding hair. So now we are going to add the hair with the underhand method. I am going to take my right thumb and place the hair in the corner of the braid and then continue my braid. Depending on how long I'm actually going to braid the braids down, that's going to determine how much hair I'm going to add in. And as you can see, with the underhand method, I can keep my braid nice and tight, braid it all the way down. When ending this braid, in all of my braids, I normally add a little edge wax to my fingers because the edge wax is very thick and it helps pretty much seal the braid before I dip it in hot water. So I braid with my underhand method, I braid all the way to the end, and that actually helps to, the edge wax actually helps to seal the braid.